All right. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are on this beautiful planet. Welcome to the Inner Circle Live Asian session. I'm your host for tonight's session, Benny Allen, and I'm definitely happy and grateful for all of you being here with me on this Thursday as we take a look at the technicals and the fundamentals to see what we can take advantage of in this amazing Forex market. So, without further ado, let's make sure, as always, that we turn off any and all distractions, grab a pen and paper, take lots of notes, and let's make sure that we participate and engage. That is how we shorten our learning curve and compress time frame. So with that being said, if you're all ready to go, just like always, drop me a one in the chat. Let me know that you can hear me loud and clear. We can get this session started. All right. Good evening, everybody. Appreciate it. Michelle, Benit, Jeremy. All right. We got the crew. David, what's going on? All right. So let's take a look at everything that's been going on. So we know we had the CPI yesterday, PPI today, right? And it came in. You got your core PPI came in. Let me see here. Hold on a second. Refresh, right? So we've got the core PPI came in today at 0.1%, right? So it came in below forecast, so that the PPI month over month, and then the unemployment claims in the United States came in under forecast. The forecast was 251, came in at 237,000. All right, so that's cool. We still got the tight labor market, and that's a good thing. And of course, that, like we say, that core PPI came in under forecast, and you saw that dollar continue to make a move to the downside off the heels of yesterday's CPI report. That's how it goes, right? That's why we combine the technicals and the fundamentals, right? So I still believe, right, you're going to get that 25 basis points coming from the Fed, but it's all about what's going to come after that, right? And looking way down the line and what the Fed is going to do. If they're going to pause or eventually start cutting rates as we move into 2024, we shall see. We see that we got the GDP for out of the UK came in early 2 a.m. Came in at 0.1%. All right, so negative 0.1%. So decent. All right. So what we'll do is I want to go over to hold on one second. Let me make sure I get everybody all set. Okay. Let's jump over to, well, before we do that, let's move into Friday, right? Pretty light. Might as well knock that out right now. We're on this page. We did at 6:45. FOMC member Waller spoke. I totally looked over that. Let me click on this real quick to see. Yep. Kind of figured that coming off that looking at those unemployment numbers. So this is Fed official Waller. Jobs, economic strength, right? Give Fed space to hike further. Favors raising rates at July FOMC meeting. We're just talking about that, right? Likely to need 2 more 25 basis point hikes, which is what they've been saying. Okay. So I know we saw the CPI and the PPI come in, but that unemployment data stood out to me today. Inflation has previously exhibited false dawns. All right. So still holding firm on the potential two rate hikes. I know it was 92%. It's the last I saw that we're going to get that. It's what the expectation, 92% chance that we're going to get that rate hike in July. It was after that. Is what everybody was trying to figure out. So Waller saying it likely needs 2 more. So 1 more after July. So let's continue to watch that. So kind of glad I clicked on that. All right. So let's talk about Friday. Let's see. We've got preliminary University of Michigan consumer sentiment. So that'll be interesting to see. Expected to come in at 65.5. So let's see what that comes out. That's at 10 a.m. tomorrow. But a lot of fireworks this week, a lot of volatility, which is good, right? We don't care which direction it moves. We just want to see volatility, and we'll figure the rest out from there. So let's go over to trading economics. And of course, U.S. producer prices rise less than forecasted. So we're just reading detail. U.S. wholesale prices rose 0.1% in June, following a 0.4% drop in May, and compared to expectations of 0.2% increase. The cost of services advanced 0.2%, while goods prices were unchanged. as a decline in food and other prices offset an increase in energy costs. Year on year, the PPI edged up 0.1%, the least since August 2020. All right, and so we see the market, right, the stock market rallying because what they're looking at is, hey, okay, we might get, July rate hike, maybe another one, but they're kind of figuring based on the inflation data that's coming through that the Fed has to be reaching the end of its hiking cycle. So that's why you see the rallies going on in the stock market. There was another one, right? The ECB raises concerns over meeting inflation target. That's huge, considering they've been pretty aggressive. We know that we have a bullish bias on the euro. We've been holding that for several weeks now, and so far it's worked out, right, and paid dividends for us. The European Central Bank's officials agreed, right? This is looking at their notes from the last meeting, that the central bank would consider raising rates beyond July, right? That's key. That's key. Due to concerns about prolonged high inflation, which raised doubts about achieving the inflation target within a reasonable time frame. The accounts of the ECB's June policy meeting showed, right? That's why these meeting minutes are very important. The majority of members supported the 25 basis point rate hike increase implemented in June. Additionally, there was initial preference expressed for 50 basis point increase in key ECB interest rates. Given the risk of persistent high inflation, the ECB has also emphasized that future decisions will be data dependent and reiterated it would adopt a meeting by meeting approach in an uncertain environment, particularly considering that interest rates were approaching a potential peak level, right? And that's straight from the ECB. So the more and more you guys read into the fundamentals, the more you learn, the better. The more it gives you confidence in regards to picking a directional bias. All right, so you can see a little bit of the shift that's starting to happen in regards to the FOMC and the ECB and the other central banks globally. Okay, you're starting to see a little bit of a divergence, right? Now, with this trading economics, this is an excellent source, right? And I hope all of you are, whenever you get a chance, take some time to read through some of these articles and these reports. It is a very, 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 very powerful resource, right? As a matter of fact, on some of your, like a lot of your major websites and things like that, a lot of times they have feeds that are coming directly from this site, okay? All of your key global macro indicators are here, right, on this site if you want to read more into detail. Okay, so you actually have the ability to click on each one of these so you can see your GDP, right? This is the important stuff, right, that we talk about all the time. GDP, year over year, quarter over quarter, interest rates, inflation rate, jobless rates, government budgets, debt to GDP, all of it's right here. Okay, and all of it can help you in regards to your directional bias and having the confidence, right? When we're going through those waves, those ABCD waves, and like, man, like I took this initial entry and that price is dropping on me, right? It's not going in my direction, right away. These are the type of things that can help you psychologically stay in the game. Okay, everybody get me on that. Drop me a 1 in the chat. Am I clear on that? Right, very, very important.
Yep.
Okay, appreciate it. Joy, got your hand raised. What's up? Accident?
Yes, accident.
All right.
I'm driving.
Gotcha. I hear you. Well, I appreciate you tuning in and showing up while you're driving. Be careful now. All right. So, like for example, if we click on the euro area, okay, you can look at all of this data, right? It's not rocket science, everybody. It's really not, right? So you can click GDP growth rate. Okay, you can click and go in more detail. So we can look at, for example, full GDP growth, right? Whether they're revising up, whether they're revising down, what the forecast is going forward, right? And that can kind of help you determine, hey, you know what? I'm overall, in regards to GDP, interest rates, inflation, I'm overall bullish, right? On the euro overall. Is it going to have its moments where it pulls back and corrects? Absolutely, right? But this is how you start to formulate a bias fundamentally, right? So it's both fundamentals and technicals, right? You use the fundamentals to determine your bias, and then you use the technicals in the charts to kind of figure out, pinpoint where you think, if you're buying, that potential low price may be, right? And you don't always have to be exactly right. We're not trying to get exactly, exact pinpoint interest when we're swing trading. We know that we can enter a trade small, and then we can build upon that position once it goes in our direction. All right. So make sure you spend some time on trading economics. It's a very, very valuable resource. Okay. China exports dropped more than expected. All right. Okay. That's huge when we talk about the second largest economy in the world and how it's having some struggles in regards to really getting revved up and running like it was prior to, even though it was having a few issues prior to the pandemic, but especially since the pandemic. All right. So let's dive into the charts. Any questions on that, on the fundamentals?
I have any, just a quick question.
Mhm.
Yeah, so fundamentally, we know that a high interest rate is good for a currency. And this week, I was looking at CAD CHF, and I think earlier in the week, Bank of Canada increased their interest rate and to I think 50 basis point or something. And comparing the CHF, I think the interest rate was 1.75. And so when the data came, I was expecting the card to go bullish, but I was kicked out of the trade, and I just didn't understand
It's getting
why that happened.
It's getting weighed down a bit. That's a great question. They went 25 basis points, right? And then it depends on so that interest rate is going to be one data point, right? So if we look at, so for example, let's look at something like the UCAD, right? Just look at the Canadian part. So they went 25 basis points, right? And reinforced their commitment to restore price stability. But we also, right, it's the full narrative. We also have to, it wasn't too long ago that for 2 consecutive meetings, they didn't do anything. They held rates, right? And then they got a rebound in some of the inflation numbers. Okay. And you can see here to the positive side that it revised its growth forecast for this year to 1.8 from 1.4, right? So that's positive, right? We're getting a rebound in oil. But then, what was the other thing that it just slipped my mind? You're getting a rebound in oil, but when you look at the Swissy, right, you can see that you do have, right, concerns, okay, about persistent inflation, okay, and your borrowing costs are at multi-year highs, right? So from a global perspective, and you can see here that it increased the demand for the safe haven currencies. See that? And then you see here that the Swiss National Bank raised its key rate by 25 basis points to 1.75 and signaled the possibility of another rate hike in December, highlighting policymakers' recognition that risk of a second round of effects on inflation may remain high, despite the slowdown in headline core figures, right? So it also, right, reiterated its readiness to intervene in the foreign exchange market to support the franc, right? So the rhetoric matters. We have to remember that Swissy, right, can have that safe haven status as well, right? So you saw some of that strengthen the Swiss currency. So if we look at, you said the CAD Swiss, right?
Yes.
Yep. So if we look at the CAD Swiss, right, how it broke that consolidation, and that's where it caught that downward pressure. Okay. And then I'll show you something else here pretty soon too. Let me charts together. Go on, we'll take a look at that CAD Swiss. You can see that downside pressure as a result, right, of the strength in Swissy, in addition to everything that we talked about, right? Because they raise rates too, right? And you still have global recession concerns, right? Oil couldn't make up his mind for a while, even though we're starting to see a little bit of boost in the oil price. But you can see that it drove that price down ultimately, right? It didn't hold at that support. And it just continued this downward trend in that sense, right? So that's the way it's going right now, right? You still have those global recessionary concerns. If you come over here and we take a look at, right, let's look at your crude oil. See, look, check this out, right? So we see, right, we got the boost up, right? We got some optimism, but when you look at the overall oil outlook, right, EIA and OPEC, the EIA lowered its global oil demand forecast by 220,000 barrels per day to 2.2 million barrels per day in 2023. Meanwhile, OPEC maintained a positive outlook on world demand, raising its growth forecast for 2023 and predicting a slight slowdown in 2024, driven by strong fuel consumption in China and India. It expects oil demand to increase by 2.25 million barrels per day in 2024, up from 2.44 million barrels per day in 2023. Despite its output, OPEC's oil production rose 91,000 barrels per day to 28.19 million barrels per day in June, led by Iran and Iraq. Oil has been trending higher recently as cooler than expected U.S. inflation numbers raise hopes that the Federal Reserve may be nearing the end of its rate hike cycle. Also, China's crude import surged to its highest in 3 years, underscoring robust demand despite signs of wider economic slowdown, right? So this is the key, right? A lot of speculation still coming out of China, right? I think if China, right, if some of their data, their economic data was better, right, I think oil would be pushing way higher. But we still have looming in the background, right, the global recessionary fears, because you still have central banks like the Bank of England, like the ECB, looking to potentially continue to hike rates, right? So we're still teetering on that brink of moving into a recession. Okay, so you still have those fears out there, and that's what that article was saying when we saw it on Swiss franc, that you still have those fears. So that Swiss franc picked up pretty good strength across the board against most crosses. Okay, so that's why you still see that decline there. Okay, so always remember, we still have that big R word circulating in the background. Okay, so even though we have, those bouts where, hey, we're getting rallies in the market and things like that, we still have that looming overall when you look at from a global economic perspective, that hey, we still may be headed, for recessions in a lot of areas around it, All right, so right now, that Swiss franc is winning the day, right? Plus possible intervention if they have to support, the Swiss franc. And they've done that multiple times. Unlike China, where they stepped in to intervene and support the yen, for the first time since '98 last year, we've seen quite a few times where the Swiss National Bank has stepped in to support the strength of the Swiss franc. So a lot of things that play. So kind of a long explanation, but I wanted to make sure that I covered it in its entirety. I hope that helps. Does it make some type of sense to you?
Yes, it did.
Yep. So it's just the ebbs and flows. So it just continued this decline. You can see here for a while, it couldn't make up its mind on what it wanted. You had quite the struggle, but then it just continued to move down. Right. So just continuing. If you zoom out, just making lower lows and lower highs. Yeah. And in this latest phase, we haven't had much of a correction, you can see from the daily. So moving back to retest the lows again, potentially. All right. So we'll see what happens there. Any other questions on this cash Swiss setup? Great question, Jeremy. Nope. All right. So I want to. I'll try to think. Is there something else I want? I'll come back to it if I remember. So I want to take a look at this Aussie CAD, right? Because it's getting a boost. Okay. So let's take a look at this from the weekly. Hey, we see, look, we had a strong bearish candle moving to the downside, right? But this level here, this 87, 83 level, nice low and reversal, right? So we're moving back up to that 91.16 level. Now, what we want to do is, this is getting pretty high in the zone here. I am still, right, when it comes to the Australian dollar versus your other majors, right, it is still underperforming overall versus the rest of your major currencies. So I am watching closely, right, price in this zone, right? This is a high price. It's taking back 78% of what it made to the downside. And now I'm sitting here and I want to see if this price stalls out and starts to break lower. I'm not exactly sold yet. This is going to continue long, right? I think we may be in a zone for a high price, and we may be setting up for the correction back down. I'm not sure how long that Aussie can maintain that upward, that strong upward momentum. Right. I know we've got a nice rally based on, you know, the CPI, PPI data. We're seeing the stock market rally. I don't know how long, you know, the Australian dollar can maintain that run to the upside. So we can see here that the Aussie, right? It even has it here, right? The Aussie continued to underperform other major currencies as the Reserve Bank of Australia left its cash rate unchanged at 4.1% during the July 4th meeting, defying market expectations of a 25 basis point increase. The board said it needed more time to assess the impact of past hikes and the economic outlook, adding that inflation in the country has passed its peak. Meanwhile, Reserve Bank of Australia Governor Philip Lowe said some further tightening may be needed to ensure that inflation returns to target in a reasonable time frame, depending on the incoming data. Right, so they're going to be data dependent, but you see here that they left it, okay, and it added that inflation in the country has passed its peak. So I am watching this pair closely. Because it is in my sell zone, right? And I know it caught, right, a lot of bids to the upside, but I want to see if it forms a high in this zone, right? Then I'll potentially look to take a short, right? So I'm gonna watch it, you know, going into tomorrow, going into next week, and then make a decision whether or not I want to play the probability on that moving back to the downside on the Aussie CAD. Because right now, where that's at, if I got short on that right now, from where we are, we're looking at, call it 95 pips. There, we're just shy of that 8.6. So we're looking at a 127, somewhere down around that zone. You're looking at 393 if that decides to turn back over and start falling short. Right. So the risk to reward is there on that play. So I am watching this Aussie CAD closely. Everybody understand my thought process on this one? Yes, no?
Yes.
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 Okay, cool. Yeah. So I want to continue to watch this, right? I don't know if it'll continue that run, but we'll find out. We'll find out. I'm gonna be patient to see what happens on that. But we had it here. We saw this consolidation, and it did break out. Right, our 4-hour stochastic is in the sell zone now, right? And we know, right, this was that initial move up and then down, right? So we pulled back, okay, within our AB boundary, which that's okay, right? So let's just see, right, if we're going to turn back over at this point. This one is an interesting setup because of the way the price action is moving. Lots going on, okay? I want to take a look at the Aussie yen. All right. Still no change in policy from the BOJ. I'm looking here, like on this daily, I'm keeping an eye on this. We're at this 382. We're at this 382. We're in this zone. We've got a stochastic that's in the buy zone, right? So we're coming right into this level, but I want to continue to watch to see how it plays around with this daily, this 95.26, and you got a weekly zone there too. Okay. I want to see if if it takes out, right, this bullish candle on the daily. See if it completely wipes this out, or if it's just retesting this candle for continuation. Because I'm not sold really on any type of yen strength. This is that daily fib here, okay, that I brought down. And then this is the move. So it's already started an upward swing, right? So you got your fibs running to the downside here off that high where price collapsed and went short. And so we know we hit that 80-20 zone. We got that swing back to that 382. But what I'm trying to, right, so that's over 170 pips, right? That moved pretty fast on that setup. So what I'm looking at now, though, here on this one, is I've got this trend line break. Now, this price is either gonna hold right within this fib. Okay, I can take this blue line out. That was that 382 target off the 4. Okay. So I don't know, some of these adjustments there. Okay, there we go. All right, so price is either gonna hold, pull back and hold in the zone and complete an ABCD wave, or it's gonna take this A out. So I am patiently waiting, everybody, to see what happens once we get back in this buy zone on this set. Okay, we know anytime we come into this buy zone, okay, it's automatically setting up our risk to reward. Okay, everybody understand that? Drop me a 2 in the chat. Because of the size of the correction within the AB boundary. Okay, awesome. So these smaller setups I like to watch because they can lead to some bigger swings, right? So if we get that pullback and then we continue, right, we know that D extension at 1.618 D extension is right to the outer trend line. We know when we get an inner trend line break, price likes to gravitate towards the outer trend line, right? But it needs to hold in this buy zone to continue. Okay, so the type of setup there, right? We come down around that 61.8, we put our stop below the A. Okay. Looking at, call it 70 pips or so. We move back up to that D extension, right? It's over 200 pips. Okay, so I want to watch this one closely because if it holds, then it goes. Great. If it doesn't, it takes the A out and it's just going to continue to push lower, which is okay too. So not ready to pull the trigger yet on this one at all, but I am watching it because we did get a pretty impulsive move and we got a trend line, right? And we got there off that 4-hour 80-20 play. So now it's just a matter of whether or not it wants to continue to push higher. But what has me thinking on this one is that we've got that daily stochastic in the buy zone. We've got a 4-hour, right? That's not aligned yet. It needs to come down a bit, right? And move back into our buy zone as well. So we're just going to continue to be patient and watch this. All right, continue to be patient. Watch this Aussie yen to see if this is the right time to get long. All right, we'll find out. But like I say, the risk to reward will be there. It's just a matter of that trade idea wants to work in our favor. Any questions on the Aussie yen?
Hey, Benny, I got a question.
Sure.
I got distracted for a minute, but I do want to ask, did you run your 1-hour fibs down, or are you just taking that because your bias is bull, you just running it from that low?
I'm just running it from that low. If you run it down, it was another 80-20 swing too, like the 4, if I remember correctly. Let me see. Because I had it on there and I cleaned it up. Yep. So you can see that. You see that swing?
Yep. Okay. Cool. Thank you.
So, you're welcome. So it's just a matter if it wants to, pull back and then continue higher. Right. So I had it running down there before. I just pulled it off to clean my charts up because I'm already showing it on that swing. Yeah. Yeah, it is, right? As the New Zealand yen, similar scenario, right? But we know how those yen crosses move beneath. That's a great observation. So that's what I'm waiting on. That's what I'm waiting on. And so we can have that happening on multiple pairs, actually. With those yen crosses. So we'll continue to keep an eye on it and see, because maybe even, after, it makes that ABCD swing and hits that extension. If it wants to drop after that, that's cool too. But we'll be all right. We've already made our money right on that swing. It can do whatever it wants after that, but if it continues and breaks that outer trend line, it could be headed long, and that's fine too. So we just need to be ready for both scenarios. All right, so that's the Aussie yen. Also, I want to take a look at the Aussie dollar. And kind of looking at the same thing on this one, right? So we can see we're pushing bullish, it's U-turn, okay? And if we come to our daily, we can see how it got choppy, it became a mess, right? But you can see how it took out this high, right? And then it pulled all the way back to give us the right tip. And now it's moving, okay? So I'm looking for that, right? I want to see that continue long, especially if we continue to see dollar weakness. The dollar continues to sell off. Here was a zone here on your 4, right? And you can see how it got caught, right? You can see your crown here on your 4. You can see that, right? How it took out that high, right? And then we pulled all the way back to get that tip, okay? Right? Not activating, but somewhere's off. But we got that tip, and now we're moving along, right? So it consolidated and then it broke out. Take that off. So if I come to this 1 hour, we got a new AB boundary that's formed out of that breakout. So what I want to see is I would love to see price pull back. Give us an opportunity to take it long. Okay. We know what happens if we have that shallow retracement and we run into that 118, 127. So we know how to play that. Okay. But for the overall trend, if we continue to see a weak dollar, if we continue to see rallies in the stock market, then typically those commodities have a tendency to follow, especially against the dollar right now. So we'll look to get long on that to see if we can get another wave to the upside and finish out that crown from the higher time. Any questions on the Aussie dollar?
Oh.
All right. Got a lot going on, a lot of mixed data, and that's okay. We just trade what we see. We get what we can get, and make sure you use proper risk management and use your confirmations, okay? Whether that be trend line breaks, cloud breaks, fib levels, support levels, resistance levels. Let's make sure that we stay patient, all right? Because these are big moves when they occur. No rush, no rush. All right, so that's the Aussie dollar. I want to take a look at this this CAD yen. Here we are from the weekly, right? We see we're correcting, right, to the downside, right? Still selling off there. Okay. here. Okay. There's that larger fib, right? It's a long drawn out move. So I ran the fibs off the low. We got a stochastic that's in the buy zone here on the daily, okay? We see the weekly stochastic, but that's long term, all right? But here on the daily, we got a stochastic that's way oversold. So the momentum could be slowing. If we slow down within this AB boundary, it may be time to look for a continuation play, okay? So what you could do is you can move down through your lower time frames, okay? And we see here on the 4, how we're continuing to move off that 80-20. Okay. Beautiful swing. Okay. So we know we've got that daily stochastic that's moved into the buy zone. 4 hour, right? It's still overbought. So let's let it continue to take the ride. But as long as it stays within our AB boundary and it holds, then eventually, right? At some point, okay, we'll look for that momentum to shift. So just continue to, right, draw your trend lines. If you're short on this swing still, cool. Just manage your trade. Okay. If you're still playing at 80-20, which those yen crosses were beautiful, gave us a lot of opportunity to catch pips. Just maintain it, trail your stops, take some money off the table if you want to. Okay. Okay. Let it continue to take the ride into the zone. And then let's see at some point if we find that support that we need and we get price to start reversing back long. Any questions on the CAD yen? That's been a nice one. Nice swing. Okay. Now you all see the power, right? In, you know, risk management, proper risk to reward, right? Because it's the ability that you'll develop to let these trades run, right? Letting those winners run. That's what's going to make up and compensate for the losses, right? That you take in the market. Okay. When you capitalize and you maximize your opportunities when you are in the right direction, trade ideas playing out. That was a beautiful consolidation that could break out to the downside. Doesn't get any better than that. Okay. All right. So that's the CAD yen. Since we're looking at these, we're running through these CADs, let's look at this Euro CAD. Right. So we're bullish to Euro. All right, we're bullish to Euro. And it's making a good move. Right. As a matter of fact, that's another low. That's probably caught on the daily. You can see that we're moving long, no doubt about it. Okay, no doubt about it. Moving long right now. Okay. All right. This is from a while ago, markup from the ritual. We said, hey, wait on the breakout. And we got it. All right. We got it. Okay. You all can see why a lot of traders love to play breakouts. Okay, especially, you know, from your higher time frames, because once they break out, they can run for a while. Right. Take a shot there. Let's see if you can catch pips on that. That's nice. Okay, very nice. So here we are zooming in on the 4, right? And you guys remember, look, watch this as we close. Isn't that amazing? The power of marking up your charts and letting your trades come to you. All right. Being patient. Okay. So now we've broken up to the upside. Now we come down to the 1 on the smaller wave, and we can see that we've got a new AB boundary. Okay. So we can see the zone where price broke out. Now, right, We just want to wait. We just want to wait. We want to wait for a pullback, right? We're going to continue with that trend off the 4 hour, off the higher time frame. We can look for price to correct and pull back. This is what we would prefer to happen. And get long. Won't draw the 80-20 scenario. We all know how that goes. But that's the Euro CAD. If we go back and take a look at the 4, got an 8.6 retracement. Okay. So we expect a 1.18 extension on that 4 hour fib. And link that down. This is your 4 hour. 1.18 D extension. See if we can get there. So if you missed that initial move, see if we get a correction. Get long. Any questions on the Euro CAD?
No.
All righty. All righty. So let's jump and look at, right, Jeremy, because that's okay, right? You might have missed on that CAD Swiss, but you hit it right on the money on the pound CAD, right? And I saw the day that one finished out on the 4, if I'm not mistaken. I was going through, taking a quick look at the charts.
Yes.
Yeah, see? All right. So it came in, right, and nailed that target. Right, that extension there. See that? That's a huge, huge move. So if we hold that position to the extension, right? If that's how you would plan it, right? That's 445 pips or somewhere around there, wherever you know, if anybody took the pound CAD setup, right? Somewhere around there, wherever you decided to get in. But a miss on a CAD Swiss or a miss on another pair, or that's okay, right? Because you always have one in the hopper running. Always have one in the hopper running. Right? So that's the pound CAD there. So we'll see, right, as we move into next week, go down through the lower time frame, see if we can catch a correction, because we still have this overall, right, long-term daily target way up there, 176.96. Okay. So we'll continue to look for opportunities to trade that, right, as we're bullish on the pounds. All right, bullish on the pounds. Any questions on that pound CAD?
No.
I want to take a look at this this EJ. Look at that. All right. So we're just shy on that monthly play, that monthly swing. Okay. Just shy. As we see that the fib is still highlighted. Okay. But what I want to see is, because we have moved into a situation, trying to scroll back to see if it can any previous levels. I don't know, and we'll find out more as we move through tomorrow. But we have a correction to the downside. Now, I'm keeping in the back of my mind, okay, that got this monthly level, and we've got this daily de-extension that hasn't been hit yet. It's getting close. So have a good evening. Pick up the boss. All right. Take care, David. Always good to have you on. So we can see here that we have a low. We got one candle to the right. We got an active candle to the right that's higher than this center candle low. So what I want to watch is continue to watch tomorrow to see if this confirms as a swing low that'll give us a daily support. I'm not exactly sold yet that this is going to correct further to the downside. Now my mind will change if this pushes down and we get a lower low, of course, right? But I'm wondering if this level holds, are we going to see price reverse and start to move back to the upside on the upward swing? Okay. Because on this 4 hour, okay, you see that we started to swing. Now we're pulling back. Our stochastic is still in the sell zone. So I mean, again, the sell zone. So I want to be patient with this, right? But we've gotten a reaction off this 4 hour 382. So I'm wondering if this level is going to hold or if it's going to continue, right? If it's going to continue lower. So that daily level I'm looking for, you already have it here is the 4 hour. So it's just a matter of if it wants to hold, right? That's a pretty good move moving to the upside, and now we're correcting back. So it just depends on if it wants to take out that low or not. So I'm keeping a close eye on this one. On the one, when I slapped on the cloud, it had broken through the cloud, we pulled back, right? So our lagging span's still not there. We got a nice crossover below the cloud. But this one I just want to see, right? It's kind of like Benit said, the NZD, JPY, like the Aussie yen, right? They're kind of all in that similar position. But it really can go either way, right? So I want to continue to watch. It's almost looking at identical setups, pretty much is on that. So keep your eye on these yen crosses. I want to see if we hold within these zones and then we take off again. All right, so we've got some things starting to confirm. We've got a bullish cloud up ahead, bullish confirmation. Got a TK crossovers below the cloud, right? Because it's just getting going. We've got our lagging span that's crossed over price, but we're not above the cloud yet. It's gonna take a while. But keep this one on your radar too, right? Our stochastics on the 4 and the 1 aren't aligning yet with this, with the thought process that I have, right? But it does come into play. Right? Then we could be looking at another swing, just like we saw on that Aussie yen, right? Where we have the opportunity, right? Let's call it 60 pips, right? And you're looking at potentially 160 to the extension. Don't know. They're potential setups. Any questions on a euro yen? Right. So just waiting patiently. And since Benit brought up that NZD-JPY, I want to take a look at that one too. Right. So we have it. Right. Benit is spot on with that, right? Look at that impulsive move. So it just depends on if it wants to, that correction wants to stay within that AB boundary, right? You guys can see that now. You can visually see that. You guys got it. So here we are on the 1 again. Right. So we start to make that move down. Right. See there? See how that's hovering? If those work out, those are steals. And I like those. I like those. But sometimes it can be too good to be true. right? So we just have to be, when all the stars align like that. So we have to be patient, right? We have to be patient, and we may not take advantage of all of them, right? Joy, I know, right? We may not take advantage of all of them. Maybe take a shot at one, right? If it gives you what you're looking for. Here, your lagging span is crossed over, is above, your lagging span is above price. You got a bullish cloud, right? Look at that. Decent crossover on the run. Right, so this one here, you got 4-hour levels coming into our buy zone. So just continue to be patient. Just continue to be patient. So that's the NZD JPY. Any questions on that? Good. All right. Jumping all over the place, man, but that's okay. Let's look at the this Euro USD. Right, as this has been a big mover for us. See what type of new opportunities might be coming about to add to a position or get an initial entry, right? We know that's moving. We know it's moving long. Look at that. We know the sequence doesn't play any games. That's that 115 level up there, that the extension right around that zone, and we're continuing to push higher, right? A lot of progress since we talked about it last night that is made to the upside to the point where it blew straight through. Look at that.
Each one of them fib levels hit, didn't it? Except for one.
Yeah. Yeah. Look at that. Right on the money, everybody. Great work. Okay. So the 4-hour, you can see that fib isn't highlighted anymore, and it's just running. Right. The power of fundamentals, understanding those big economic reports, is continuing to run. As a matter of fact, on that pound one that I posted, I don't know if that may not make a correction before it hits the D extension. It might just keep running. But I haven't put a position on that one yet. So this is look at that. Goodness. All right. That's that 1 hour 1.618 off the main. Here, I'll show you. Let me zoom out. Let me show you where that target is coming from. Right here. Boom. So it's getting close, Joy. All right. So that's the 4-hour. Here's that 1 hour on the capital fib. Here the sub fibs running. Yeah. 1 hour D extension. We're in the 80-20 zone on this sub fib. Moving to the upside. So we'll continue to track that. That's got a lot of momentum. Okay. A lot of momentum. So definitely bullish. The monster swing. Monster swing. Yep. Great work, everybody. Great work. Okay. Great work. Now, so that's that. So on the sub here, we're in the 80-20 zone. We got a 1 hour D extension. Let's see what happens, right? We know that when the market gets running, we know how it can blow through levels when we get strong fundamental catalysts like we had with the CPI and the PPI. Right? But I always keep in the back of my mind that a lot of, we got a lot of data still left for this year. We know we just saw what Fed Chair Waller had to say in regards to 2 additional rate hikes. A lot of things that can happen over the next several months with that dollar, right? So we always keep that in the back of our mind. But if we're looking to get bullish on the euro dollar, we don't want to buy it here. We want to wait for a correction at some point, right? If we want to get involved in that. So that's the euro dollar. There's pound dollar. I want to take a look at this because I know it was continuing to push. Look at that. Man, that's strong. So we're pushing. We've got a daily resistance right before that D extension. I don't know if that resistance can hold. I don't know if it's going to hold. Okay. So that counter trend move might not be in play. Just let it keep running, right? But for the long play that we've all been involved in, that's nice. All right, it's a nice swing. Here we are on a 1. All right. So here's that spot. We've gone above. Look how we've broken above 130.89 already. Now, have we seen it collapse? Yeah, we've seen that before. But coming off the heels of that inflation data, I don't know. This might continue to keep making higher highs and hit that D extension. Right? So we haven't gotten any type of a lower low or a trend line break or anything yet. Now, if we get back below that 130.89 daily support level, right, and come back into our 80-20 zone, then we might be talking, right? But until then, to stay patient. If you've been holding your long on that, when you weren't looking at this position, this setup at all, then just continue to hold your long play because we know we're bullish overall. It's just a matter of whether or not we're gonna get a correction, right? Like here, price correct, okay, out of that zone. That's what we look for when we draw these setups, these markups like this. This is what we're looking for it to come out of that 80-20 zone, right, and make a big move for the counter, and then back long in our directional bias. Right? But we may not get that. Might be too impulsive. It might be too impulsive. The bulls got control. So, but we'll see. Any questions on the pound dollar or anything that we covered tonight? I've got a couple minutes. Any particular, any pair, right? Probably could do like one. Take a look at one before we close out.
Euro NZD.
Euro NZD. All right. Let's take a look at it. Copy it. Oh, please. Okay, Kiki. Gotcha. This was kind of doing the dance, huh? Right. It's kind of moving sideways, right? Still overall bullish on the euro. So I'd like to see this eventually make long. It's just, get long is just gonna be a matter of when, right? So here's the play that I had going on, and it's just trapped right now. See how it's just moving sideways? But we got a 4-hour stochastic in the buy zone. So eventually I look for a continuation. We've already gotten our deep pullback. I don't see it coming back, to that level that it reversed out of. So it's kind of just moving sideways right now within that range. Now, we're definitely oversold. That's a support there 4-hour. That's a support there 4-hour, right? So put them in, see like that. Okay. But what would be great, right? And you could drop down to a lower time frame, draw your trend lines, and if you start to get a reverse out of this zone here, right, then you look for higher highs and higher lows, and then you look to play that continuation if it wants to continue. But what would be, let me put these levels in real fast. It's not my best friend. Kind of choppy, slow. Put this level in. These levels are close, so it's more like it's like a zone. That. So you can see how it's coming into these levels, and we're kind of rangy, right? So you could play it as such, right? So you could say, right, I've got this zone here, right? That would be super nice to come and test that daily level, 1 or 2. But you could look at this, like we already know what this looks like, but we know also that we're moving sideways. So this is what I'll do for charts at times. I'll just take that off, okay? Just look at these levels, see? You can go on the 4, you can go to your lower time frames, okay? You can deploy your trend lines. Right. You really don't need this one, but like that. So maybe move it to the outside, like that. You really need 2 touches Still got some downside pressure there in this new candle. So I put it just like that. Because it's moving sideways. And see if we reach that, see if we hold the zone. And then either on your 4, your 1 hour, or your 15, or however you want to play it, right? You can take, if we see these zones hold, you could take a range play and say, you know what? I'm going to start this out as a range play. So here's my low, right? Either here in this zone, these 4-hour levels, or here, okay, that daily level. And if we reverse out of the zone and we start making, oh, got the wrong tool, and we start making higher highs and higher lows, like that, and I get that either on this time frame or a lower time frame, I like to go to the lower time frame for this. Then I say, you know what? Once that low forms, we break trend line and I get a pullback, then I'll see if I can play this back to the top of the range or to the extension, or this may be the reset for the trend to start continuing again and the Euro bulls take over. You never know, right? It's kind of hard to predict that, but what you can play are these horizontal support and resistance levels where we know we've seen bounces, right? So we got one here, and then at this level, this daily level is 173.94. We got to bounce there, right? So that's how you can play that. You guys follow me on that one?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So sometimes it's just better. Like when you identify that, like, you know what, at the end of the day, it's not really moving like it did here from bottom left to top right of my chart, right? That means I'm trending up, or it's not really giving me a strong move from top left corner of my chart to the lower right. And in fact, it's just moving sideways across my screen. Well, you know what? I'm gonna pull those fibs off. Okay. I know what my previous fib looked like, but it's moving sideways right now. I know I don't need that fib for my, to help me with my direction, because I already know fundamentally I'm bullish Euro, preferably, right? So I'm just gonna look at these horizontal levels, and then I'm gonna look to make plays. So that's how you can do that. Sometimes it can get confusing, so you just need to pull the fibs off, and it's moving sideways across the screen. Okay, we prefer things to be trending, right? When we got those fibs on. All right, good deal. So let's take a look at gold. So far, okay, this area that we identified, past resistance become future support, we're right, right? Price is moving up, still moving up, right? It's bouncing around. Okay. So if we come down and we look at a 4, now we look at these levels, okay, at 1967. Do we hold and pull back and continue long? All right. So right now we're bullish, and this is a key level here, 1967. So you play it just like anything else. Do we reverse? Do we reverse out and pull back, and then we look for a buying opportunity? Do we move into these levels here and see if it stalls out, and then it makes the correction? Decide if we're going to play at 80-20. So that's where we are. That's where we are. But so far, it's been a good move to the upside. All right. Look at that. Take these out. Okay. Oh, it was moving down before it reversed. So it's going to happen. It's been moving long. Okay. Continue to roll with it until it tells us otherwise. Okay. I don't want to buy here though. Okay. Not at least using the fibs and the fib sequence, right? And how we do it, right? We want to wait for our sweet spots to be to take buying opportunities. Okay. Let me see. Bank holiday all day. For New Zealand. Right. So we know that can create some you got low liquidity, right? Bank holiday in New Zealand. So you can get some prolonged moves on the NZD Swiss. Let's take a quick look at it before we log out. Actually had NZD Swiss, NZD USD. I actually had those on the list, but not enough time to cover them. So, right, we talked about this one last night, and it held, right? So we talked about during the Asian session last night how it's coming into the zone and it keeps respecting that zone, and yeah. So we're right in thinking that it was going to make a move out of that zone again, right? So.
Now I must need to reset my chart. I see it's this candle on the 1 hour that looked extremely long and it looked weird. So it must be my chart.
Yep, just hit that reset.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm glad you brought me back to this one because we were talking about this when we got a reaction. So we're moving long. We're moving long. Now that you got me on these, take a look at this this NZD USD because that should be yep. I'm still moving pretty good. Look at that. All right. We were just talking about this one, right? Last night. Look at it. Dawn. Jeez, oh peaks. All right. So, man, oh man, that's a runner. So we look for corrections and potential continuations. Let me move our crown pattern out of the way. Let me run these smart fibs off this low. There we go. So we're spot on with that one. Now we've broken above weekly levels, 63.86, and it's continued to drive long. I don't know with this with that inflation data, that's probably going to continue to run, right? Look how it moved, right, in our session. During our Asian session, it's moving sideways, and now we're starting to break out. So it held above that weekly level. All right, so we're good. We're good with the text. Our technical setups and our ideas, right? We're here morning after morning, night after night. You know, if you give it time, they play out. They play out. Okay. Here's the weekly. How we're making this U-turn. I ran that fib off the low. Look what that's doing. That morning star was forever ago now. We're pushing high up into the zone. Let's see. Let's see what happens on it, right? So here is our 80-20. Right, that we had identified a while ago. Screen to work with me. So we don't know how it gets there. We just know the zone, right? We just know the zone. We don't know, right? what the artwork's gonna look like, how it's gonna come out. All right, it could be all over the place. All right, but the zone held. We didn't hit the extension. The 80-20 reversed and took us into a 382. Okay, and here we are on the 1, and it's dancing around. So this one I kind of look at it like the Aussie scenario too. Is how long can this NZD make this run to the upside? Okay. I don't know. I plotted that this fib here on a weekly because I wanted to see what that looked like from the bottom up, but I continue to track the fundamentals on this in regards to New Zealand to see what the case would be for that to continue long. Because I don't know. I don't know right now. A little mixed, but we were right on that 4-hour 80-20 though. Right, that's got to start it to the upside. It's just a matter of whether how long it's been maintaining itself. Any questions on what we covered? You're welcome, Kiki.
Nope.
Oh,
No? All right, so let's just continue. As a matter of fact, I don't see how that's moving, but this is another one I'm gonna play. I'm going to. I want to just play the levels on this. It's moving up into the zone on the fib. I know that. I want to continue. Just play the zones on this one. Because kind of hard to right now to make a determination on which way that trend is, a long-term trend, which way ultimately is going to sustain itself. So I'm going to mark that level there. And maybe we'll get a pullback and a retest at this 83.37 somewhere in that zone. And if it holds, then we'll say, you know what? We're going to look to continue to that 85.06 level. That's how I want to do that. All right, that's it. That's all I got for tonight. You guys have been awesome. Appreciate you. We'll be back Saturday, 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for the weekly ritual so we can prepare for the upcoming week. Have a great night, everybody.
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay.